I'm Heather from Stamps by Judith and Heather, and we're going to have some fun today with the little Scandinavian woodland gnomes. You can make them winter, you can make them Christmas, you can make them girly, you can make them happy birthday, all sorts of things. But I'm just going to show you some options and how to color, and then with interactive stamping creates the body. And if you like those, you can go to our website at stampsbyjudith.com to check out some other ideas. So come and have fun with me. Today I'm going to show you how to make a little woodsy Scandinavian gnome. They're kind of all the rage this season. We do have an image coming out of our own gnome, but you can make one in the interactive style with the bold fir branch and the regular fir branch, which I'm going to show you, and some of our clothes, and you do your own fun woodsy Scandinavian gnome decorations. So I'm going to start off with, this is the F307 bold fir branch and my hunter green ink pad. And I'm going to show you what you don't necessarily want to do first, because it does have a little bit of a curve, so you need to be a little more, I mean, I'm not going to do it on cardstock, but a little more aware of how it's going to fit. You do not want to start off by doing a big splayed out top, because keep in mind, if you want to put a hat on it of some sort, it's going to have feathers sticking out the top of its head. So when you do your gnome, I'm going to start off the bold fir branch. You can either work on keeping it really kind of tight, think almost like a broom, kind of like that, somewhat even-ish across the bottom. Or grab just a piece of paper here, this way, to keep the top a little less peaky, so you can shift your hat around a little bit more. I just masked it off to create the body. And then what I did in my gnome is I took the C69 fir branch and just put a little bit of a different kind of branch coming out of it. So there are my two options for my bodies for my gnome in the hunter green ink. Now to color it, I want a little bit of the bulk in the body, not just standard green. So I'm going to take my Tombow Watercolor Markers. I have the 192 green, 553 blue, 942 brown. And I'm going to start off with the green. So let me move him out of the way. And very technical brush strokes. Scratch piece of paper of that. It's a flick. I'm not coming in and trying to color. I'm just flicking a little bit of the color on there. Little dashes and flicks. Like that. I'm going to take my blue, the 553 blue, same thing, little dashes and flicks. And then the 942 tan. And there is the bulk of our body. So we have, again, the two fir branches and then our body. I'm going to set that aside for the moment. And then I thought it was really cute underneath to have the little winter boots So I have this stamp. It's the G138 Boots. Stamped it a couple times. And then to color it, kind of have my two grays, soft brown, a light teal. May or may not put the khaki in there, but I'm going to start off with the N95, the soft brown. And I'm not worrying about getting every tiny little space. So I have my boots. My scratch paper back. I'm going to take, it was the N95 light gray that I started with. This is the N65 darker gray. I take my light marker like it's a paintbrush, pick up some of the dark marker, and there is my blended tone. It does not hurt the light marker. Come back and do the other side. You could do your boots more brown tones if you wanted, more khakis. They make cute army boots if you color them in the browns and the khakis. So I have that. Just come in and start building up the dark colors. And if you're wondering why I have tape around one of my markers, it's because in some lights it's sometimes hard to tell the difference between the two grays quickly. So I just put tape around the lighter one, so it saves me having to search. Nothing fantastic, just a time saver. But I have the browns. That I just used was the 942. This is the 491. It's a very soft teal. It kind of gives it a wintry look. And again, it's just kind of the dashes and dot swipes. If you wanted to put the 992 khaki in there, give it a little bit of maybe a muddy tone if your gnome's been walking through the dirt. You can keep building up the color as much as you want. Here's one I did earlier, and what's nice is we have a matching die that I cut it out, so I don't have to spend all the time cutting it out. So I have my boots right there, boots, and then different hats and things. The hat on this one is very simply a wobbly triangle I just cut. Nothing overly exciting. Just grab a scratch piece of cardstock. And I just, losing things here. Well, it's about that wide. Kind of think about how wide your gnome is, your gnome's head. And it looks a little silly when it's straight, so then I just took and round out the top a little bit, put some wobbles in it, maybe make the corners a little less sharp. So there's my little gnome hat. Or we have our winter hat. This one I started to color, and we do have a die for this one as well. Can do that. To color it, I started off with the 133 lime green. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of the 192 sort of mossy green. Just color it in a little bit. Like that. Come back in with my dark. You could do it any colors you wanted. It's just kind of fun to have that lime green hat. I'm going to take that kind of soft teal color again add some color to the ruffles. You can put a little bit of teal in the hat. I'm going to brighten up my pink hearts with a little bit darker pink. That was 761, and then I'm going to grab the 623. Do that. So I have my hat, and again I would cut it out with the die. So that's the hat on that guy. The next one, you got to have your little hands. So this is D74 and 75, I believe, mittens. And I just took, here's a pair I started to color, some soft green. I'm going to take the 491 and pick up a little bit of the 192 green. Color them all sorts of different shades. Again, come back in the 192, darken a little bit under the cuff of the mitten. Do something like that. Come back in with the 856 red, brighten up my soft pink hearts on the hands. There's mittens, and then once again there are dies for those guys. You can cut those out. Here's my mittens. Now, for the hat, to color it, you can color it any shades you want, but I'm going to take the 856 red. I'm just going to hold it down and just kind of flick the color. I don't want the whole thing to be just one solid color. I could have colored it or cut it out of red paper if I wanted it that way. And then I'm going to tap the 856 red to the 847 red. It's a little tricky because I have to hold on to the hat. And just build up the color a little bit. And there's kind of my hat. One thing I noticed, it's a little too straight on the bottom. It's kind of fun when there's a wobble, like his nose is pushing it up in a little bit of an area. Then to set the hat off a little bit, I'm going to take a fine line pilot pen, and all I'm going to do is wobble a line around it. Basically tracing just inside the edge. I'm not drawing or anything like that, just tracing. And then if you wanted some hashtags, little marks to give the hat some character. The nose. We do have our glasses nose stamp. I stamped it, colored it, and cut the little glass arms off. That's an option for nose with already the mustache. But I was kind of having fun by cutting a teardrop shape out of scratch piece of paper. So I just cut a teardrop like that, and then Grabbed my pink marker. And there's my nose. So you can have all sorts of different shapes of noses. So those are some of the pieces parts. Another thing you can do that I did not do to these guys is I just cut little pieces of paper in a swoop or a swirl to look like a little beard. So if you wanted to add a beard to your gnome, it's just a little piece of paper. So to assemble this guy, I'm going to take my boots, and they look kind of flat. Mittens this way. When they're just set on top, they lose a little bit of the character of the stamp. So I'm going to grab a little cutting mat and my X-Acto knife. So let me move my markers out of the way. I'm just kind of going to look, let's see, the boots kind of go from there, make a little stab in the paper to about there. And I'm just kind of gonna zigzag, I lost one of my marks, zigzag back and forth and slide the boots up under there. If I wanted to, the little tabs of the boots sticking out, have one sticking out. Same with the mittens. They're cute when they're under it a little bit. So just going to zigzag and slide the mitten under it partially. It doesn't have to be under the whole thing. And maybe have one mitten up higher than the other. Have that, and those would get glued down. Take my hat and my nose, or my hat, my glasses and my nose. So some of the options, or I can get a hold of things. There's my hat and my beard and my nose. Let's see, we'll grab another nose. How about a scarf, which we do have a die for, and a Santa hat. This was one where you may want to have it over here, so you're not fighting the top, because the Santa hat's a little lower. So you're not fighting the top of the hat. Or you can take that hat and put it on there. Or maybe you want a little more of a fancy gnome. So here's a pair of wingtip shoes, maybe if he's going to a party. Around the bottom are the snowballs, and these are just slightly colored blue. And then I just come in a lot of the same colors that are on the gnome, the 491, the 942, and add some dirt and snow. And those I cut out by hand. We don't have a die for those at the moment. Here's another option if you're not into the full gnome body. This is a wreath made out of the same two stamps, and I'll show you how I did that one. Hunter green ink. And to make a wreath out of this one, just kind of count to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gives me the shape. I'm going to turn my stamp around, go back on top the opposite direction to fill it in. Come back in with the C69 smaller fir branch. Add a little bit of fuzzy here and there. Okay, and then again my Tombow markers, those very technical brush strokes with the 192 green and the 553 blue. And then the 942 tan. And for this you could add pine cones and all sorts of things like that to it. But personally I think it's kind of fun to take these little pieces parts and make a little gnome wreath or fun little gnome wreath. And then I used our dots and our snowflake stamp to kind of decorate it. Here I have the Santa bag, which we have the die for, which makes it easy to cut out. I just put it behind the boots and the mitten. Added my soft gray for my shadows. You can just have all sorts of fun decorating. You could even make a little lady gnome, because we have hats with feathers and ribbons and high heels. So, little Christmas gnome that can turn into any kind of woodland gnome.